Welcome to Sacrilegious Discourse.
For this is what the Sovereign Lord says.
Why do you need prophets to tell people who you are and what you want?
If you can justify everything that the God of the Bible has done, then you can justify any of your behavior.
A lot of this mentality is trickling into what is now mainstream right-wing Christianity.
I am capable of empathy greater than this God of the Bible.
This is a Bible that they tell kids. This is the good Lord. This is the good book. He is fantasizing about murder, mass murder.
Head over to sacrilegiousdiscourse.com right now to find out how to leave us a review or support us on Patreon.
Hey there, sinners and saints. It's your favorite Bible-bashing duo from Sacrilegious Discourse, and we need your help.
That's right, folks. We're raising funds for some heavenly equipment and a studio that doesn't sound like it's in the depths of hell.
Our current setup, let's just say it's more apocalypse than audiophile.
So if you want to hear us dissect the Bible without the background noise of demonic squirrels, chip in a few bucks.
We're aiming for $5,000 to upgrade our audio and build a studio worthy of blasphemous banter.
Donate today and help us spread the good word of atheism.
You can find a link right on our homepage, sacrilegiousdiscourse.com. Every dollar counts.
Even if it's from your collection plate. Husband!
Wife!
Guess what we're doing today?
Well, we are starting a new book of the Bible.
We are.
And what book are we starting?
Habakkuk, Mrs. Robinson.
Habakkuk.
Yeah.
All right. So you got anything to share about Mr. Habakkuk?
Mr. Habakkuk. I have to share that I love his name. It's so fun to say.
You've been looking forward to saying Habakkuk. Yeah, that.
Yeah.
So
I've been looking forward to.
You had this one.
Jesus loves you more than you will know. Whoa.
You had this Minor Prophets name down before we ever started this book.
Yes.
You're like, I got this.
I love it. I love it. And there's only 3 chapters. That's so
there's only 3 in this one too,
so
huh?
sad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I mean,
He's so
is it
minor.
sad? We're getting through the Old Testament. We're almost done with this shit.
I know
think.
there's only like 2 or 3 books left.
Crazy.
Right?
Crazy. We've been doing this for years.
I know.
And we're almost done.
It's like we're dragging our feet.
We're almost done with the Old Testament. Not the Bible, but the Old Testament.
And then we've got a few books of the Apocrypha. Well, it depends who you ask.
We have things and stuff that we might do.
Before we hit the New Testament, I mean.
Right. Because we want to explore some of the stuff that we didn't quite get to.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's a lot of, shit. We could fill a whole other fucking podcast with the stuff we didn't get to. But
there are specifically
big stuff.
There are specifically like 3 or 4 books that are in other translations.
Yeah.
But not in the quote unquote normal Christian ones.
Right.
So we'll get to those.
Yeah. And I do want to say, I just mentioned we've been doing this for over 4.5 years now. Mm-hmm. And we really couldn't do this without your support.
It's so true.
I mean, honestly, our fans and our patrons and all of you who support us in any way, even just an email.
Yeah.
You guys are just absolutely incredible, and it makes us want to get up and do this, even though we don't always get up and do this.
Yeah, no, it's so true. Like it makes it to where it, like, sometimes it can feel like a chore, and you guys make it feel like less of a chore. And we might have not, like, if we didn't have you guys, we probably wouldn't have stuck with it. I mean,
I don't know.
We
wanted to do this on our own too.
Yeah, but
it wouldn't have been as fun.
And we might have dragged our feet even more.
Oh, fuck. This would have been like a 2-decade process, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
But you guys, like, make us want to keep coming back more regularly.
Speaking of people who make us want to keep coming back, I am woefully behind on calling out some of our Patreon supporters that signed up recently. So I would like to give a big special thank you to Marcus I.
Marcus I!
Yeah. Also, they said we could call them Mr. Marcus Young, Handsome, and Heartless.
Mr.
Yeah. So I mean, that was their doing. If they didn't want me to say it, they shouldn't have wrote it. You know.
Like that needed to be crooned.
You did it?
It did.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Mr. Marcus.
So Marcus,
thank you
so much. You really, you know, every contributor helps out tremendously. I mean, even the smallest amounts make a big difference because it takes everybody to help do what we're doing. We can't expect to do this on no one's going to pay for us to run our podcast by themselves. That's not going to happen. I mean, it would be nice.
It would be nice.
But, it's not going to happen.
No.
So it takes a
village.
family. It takes a family.
Oh, you guys are our family.
Yeah. Yeah. So Marcus, welcome to the family and thank you so much.
Thank you. We really do appreciate you.
That being said, wife, are you ready to get into Habakkuk?
Habakkuk, sure as fuck am.
All right, let's do this.
Okie dokie. All right, before we hop into hoo-hoo-ba-choo, cuckoo-cuckachoo, cuckachoo, hoo-hoo-be-doo-be-doo, Scooby-Doo. Okay, before we do that.
Yeah. I hope that doesn't happen again.
It probably will because I love making noise. I'm a noisy person. So, you know how when we start a new book, I kind of tell you a little bit about the book?
I do.
That's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So this dude.
Yeah.
His name was
Habakkuk.
Yes. He is revered by Jews, Christians, and Muslims.
Oh, okay. All right.
He's a little bit special.
Okay. Yeah.
Almost all information about him is drawn from the book bearing his name, those 3 chapters, with no biographical details provided other than his title, The Prophet.
The Prophet.
Okay.
Okay.
And
that sounds very special. The Prophet.
He is actually, unlike some of the others, it's thought that this was like his for realsies job.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not just like he was doing some other stuff and then God gave him a message and then he went around telling that message.
Got it.
And stopped being a Mason that day or whatever.
He was strictly a prophet.
He was a temple prophet.
Now, I was kind of the understanding that a lot of the prophets were specifically prophets, though.
But not all of them,
Right, not all of them.
Jonah wasn't.
Right.
He was like, no, I would like to not. Thank you. Well, I'm going to hop in a boat and sail away.
What was that? Boss? The guy on the donkey.
Oh, Balaam?
Balaam? Yeah. He was a prophet, but he had some other job that he was doing. He just kind of got interrupted, and then God was like, hey, go tell him this shit.
And he was like,
I guess. Do I gotta? All right.
Yeah. So not all of them were prophety prophets.
Right.
Not all of them were profiting prophets. Yeah. So he's mentioned in the Deuterocanonical additions to Daniel.
Okay.
Meaning, remember when we talked about the chapters of Daniel and then how there were some other ones that we talked about? Like, for example, the one I had you look up, Bel and the Dragon.
Yes.
Yeah. Which we'll talk about in a minute.
Okay.
So he's in some of those. And outside the Bible, he is mentioned over the centuries in forms of Christian and rabbinic tradition. So there's stories about him, even though he's only got 3 chapters in the Bible and a couple of mentions in the non-Bible stories.
Got it. Okay.
So that's when I say he's special, he's a little bit special.
Got it.
Okay.
So he's not he's a bigger star, maybe kind of outside of the canonical books and more so in just like lore, Bible lore, or Torah lore,
as has to do with Daniel. Yes.
Got it. Okay. All right.
The etymology of his name is not clear, but it is so fun to say. But its form has no parallel in Hebrew.
I see.
Yeah. It's probably or possibly, who knows, related to the Akkadian word Kembaku. And I'm sure I fucked that all up.
Sure.
But I don't know any surviving Akkadians today who would be offended. So
yeah. Nor do I.
Nobody else should be offended either.
Yeah.
That word is the name of a fragrant plant.
Okay.
Or it could be the Hebrew root meaning embrace.
Sure.
So hug a cactus maybe is what his name means.
Okay.
Cuckoo-cachoo.
Yeah.
Although his home is not identified, scholars conclude that he lived in Jerusalem at the time that he wrote his prophecy.
Okay.
Maybe. Beyond the Bible, considerable conjecture has been put forward over the centuries in the form of, like I said before, Christian and rabbinic tradition, but such accounts are dismissed by modern scholars as speculative and apocryphal.
Okay.
So it's tradition and lore, not historical observation. Okay.
By biblical scholars.
Yes.
And they're pretending that a lot of the rest of the Bible isn't speculative and, just guesses.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I'm just saying, it's funny that they pick and choose what they want to be speculative and what is not.
the modern scholars that have decided are not necessarily religious scholars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
It's just modern scholars. So like historians
Okay.
have decided that some of the stories about him are not true, maybe. But
Got it. But that's what I'm saying, though, is that there's a lot of stories that are not true about people in the Bible.
Totally. Further analysis has provided an approximate date for his prophecy and possibilities concerning his activities and background.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Scholars have proposed a broad range of dates for the composition of the book, but many agree that the period during Joachim's reign, which was 609 to 597 BCE, aligns well with the context described in his book.
Got it.
Okay. Now, because the book of Habakkuk consists of 5 oracles about the Chaldeans, which were the Babylonians.
Yeah.
And the Chaldean rise to power is dated about 612 BCE.
Okay.
It is assumed he was active about that time, making him an early contemporary of both Jeremiah and Zephaniah, which we haven't read yet. That's one of the ones that are left.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah.
It's likely that it was written shortly after the fall of Nineveh, which was in 612 BCE.
Right.
And before the Babylonian capture of Jerusalem, which was in 586 BCE.
Got it.
Okay. So that whole time period, Yeah. That's when all these little guys were running around screaming their heads off. Jewish sources, however, do not group him with Jeremiah and Zephaniah.
Okay.
Like, you'll notice that he's not over there with them.
Right.
And those two guys are placed together often. It's possible that he was slightly earlier than these guys.
Okay.
Slightly.
Sure.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
Now, because the final chapter, there's a million chapters. Just kidding. There's only 3.
Yeah.
The third and final chapter of the book is a song.
Oh,
and
okay.
I haven't looked at it yet. I might try to sing it because how love
those episodes never work out well,
but they're so fun to me. They always I always regret them, but I enjoy doing them at the time. So I don't know. We'll see. I haven't looked at it yet. Okay. But because it's a song, sometimes it's assumed that he was a temple prophet and as such would be a member of the tribe of Levi, who served as musicians in Solomon's temple.
Okay.
Right. But other historians place him with the tribe of Simon. So who the fuck knows?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this was all a fancy way of saying,
I mean, that seems like pretty much standard for any prophet we've been talking about lately.
I mean, they're like, he might have been this, and we guess probably that, but honestly, nobody knows. But I mean, best guess.
Yeah,
right?
Somebody wrote something at some point and it's in the Bible.
Right. No, but I appreciate the guesses because they give you good reasons why they guess that.
Yeah.
And then they're like, but nobody knows.
Sure. No, I get it.
I appreciate the scholarly best guess.
Sure.
Yeah. So the Septuagint, which is the Greek translation of Daniel, refers to him as the son of Joshua of the tribe of Levi.
Oh, okay.
So there's that.
Yeah.
But how the Greeks are. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what that.
Do we?
No.
What does that mean?
I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
Okay.
But so that translation refers to him as Joshua, the son of Joshua of the tribe of Levi.
Okay.
So since they're like, it's a song, he's probably in the tribe of Levi. And then since the other translation of Daniel refers to him as such, I'm like, yeah, that's probably a good guess.
Yeah.
Let's just call him of the tribe of Levi.
Sounds good to me.
Right?
Yeah.
Why not?
Right.
Now, in the reference that I just mentioned, Habakkuk appears in Bel and the Dragon, which we read.
We did.
We did a special episode on some of the missing stories of Daniel.
Yeah.
And again, those are a part of the Deuterocanonical additions to Daniel.
Right.
Now, I could not specifically remember Bel and the Dragon. I seem to recall it was like a crocodile or some shit. So I had you real quick look up what is that. Tell me again, refresh us.
You did. So Bel and the Dragon is it's an apocryphal addition to the book of Daniel. Mm-hmm. And it's found in the Greek versions of the Old Testament, so the Septuagint, like you said. And it has 3 different sections. So the first section is the idol Bel, and King Cyrus of Babylon. He worships the god Bel and believes that it consumes a large amount of food daily. Daniel, who is a devout Jew, refuses to worship Bel and challenges the priests. By proving that the idol does not actually eat, he scatters ashes on the temple floor and reveals the footprints of the priests and families who secretly ate the offerings.
Yeah, right? I remember that.
And then then the king is like, "Well, fuck this." So the king presents Daniel with a living dragon, which the Babylonians also worship. To disprove its divinity, Daniel feeds the dragon a concoction of pitch, fat, and hair, causing it to burst.
Yep.
So that was what apparently did that, and then the people got pissed off at him.
You keep killing our gods.
And they were like, send him to the lion's den. And then the king actually liked Daniel. I don't know if you recall that.
Yeah. But
like then the king was like, no, we're gonna put him in the lion's den because and sorry, dude, but we got to put you in the lion's den. Mm-hmm. And then he survived after 6 days or whatever.
And wasn't Habakkuk the guy that brought him food? Like, wasn't there like a mention of him? That brought him food while he was in the lion's den or something like that?
Actually didn't say anything in the thing I looked up.
Maybe I'm misremembering. That's in my notes.
Okay.
Right. That's where I got that. Okay.
I was like, yeah, because it didn't actually say anything about him in the thing that I looked up, which was a brief summary of it.
Sure,
so,
yeah. No. I'm sorry. I was like remembering what I had taken notes on. Yeah, so verses 33 through 39 place Habakkuk in Judea. And after making some stew, he's instructed by an angel of the Lord to take the stew to Daniel, who is in the lion's den in Babylon.
I vaguely remember that, yeah.
And then he proclaims he's unaware of either the den or Babylon. He's like, the fuck, I'm just over here trying to make some stew. So the angel transports him. He flies him over to Babylon to provide Daniel with some food while he is in the lion's den.
Got it. Yeah.
So that happened.
Okay.
So dude gives Daniel the food to sustain him, and he is immediately taken back to his place or his own country, wherever he be.
Just materialized and then dematerialized.
No, he didn't materialize. He was flown.
Whatever.
He was transported.
It's all silly.
Well, yeah. But I mean, you get an angel involved and it says he was flown. You got to include that.
Right.
There were flapping motherfucking wings. Feathers were flipping, okay? There were feathers that were ruffled.
This guy
they were in the sky.
Literally got a ride from an angel.
Mm-hmm. Or an owl.
Right. It'd be one hell of an owl.
Or an eagle.
Any bird, it would be one hell of a bird.
Raptor. It was a fucking raptor. So, having said all that, it is debated whether chapter 3, the song, which we were just talking about, that chapter and the first 2 chapters were written by the same author. So there's some people that are like, I'm pretty sure this was written by someone else.
Call me shocked here.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, that's that. He's also mentioned in this book called The Lives of the Prophets, which...
It's not like the Days of Our Lives.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Like, I'm putting that on our, like, bonus list. Okay. So I'm not even going to get into that. We'll talk about that another time. Okay?
Yeah.
So he's mentioned in that book, and it mentions his time in Babylon. And according to Zohar, who was... I know, right? What?
Yeah.
He was this, like, early historian Jewish guy. Okay.
Who was Zohar?
Zohar. According to Zohar, Habakkuk is the boy born to the Shunammite woman through Elisha's blessing. Remember when Elisha was staying with these people and they were so nice to him, and that he was like, "Oh, I like you guys. You guys are so nice to me. Thank you." And they were like, "That's cool. I just wish we could have a son." And so he's like, boom, blessed. You have a son.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So there's like this one historian Jewish guy that's like, you know what? That's who Habakkuk was.
I feel like they like to attribute things to make it all coalesce.
Let's tie it up.
Yeah.
Well, this kid didn't get a name. What story is loose? Oh, that one. Okay.
Yeah.
That's who it is.
Is it about the right time? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Time frame's good. Okay. Good. Cool.
And so that was in 2 Kings chapter 4. And it goes, and he said, about this season, according to the time of life, thou shalt embrace a son. And she said, nay, my lord, thou man of God, do not lie unto thine handmaid. So she's like, bitch, I cannot have a child.
Right.
And he's like, but magic though.
Yeah. Magic. It existed back then. It doesn't exist anymore.
No, it stopped.
But like back then, apparently, it did.
People say it does, but they saw it all the time back then, and now we see it exactly 0 times.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. But back then, there was burning bushes.
You know what really gets me is like there's actual the Catholic Church investigates miracles, right? Like they actually say some things are miracles. But like anyone outside of the church has ever investigated turns out to be fake.
Well, yeah.
Like there's some other cause for it.
Yeah, stone angels don't actually weep blood. It's always like rust or mud or some stupid bullshit.
And one of them was like a toilet backing up or something like that, I think.
Oh, my goodness.
There was one that was like Virgin Mary was crying or something like that.
Yeah.
And like it was a backed up toilet or something.
And then sometimes there's like a stigmata where your wrists or your palms start bleeding where Jesus was, hung on the cross, and that's a miracle. And I'm like, how is that miraculous? That seems painful and gross.
Yeah, yeah.
I think their use of the word miracle is different from mine.
Right.
Like they mean magic-y woo-woo thing that happened, whereas to me, miracle is, yes, magic-y woo-woo thing that happened, but that's also like good. Not painful. A blessing.
But even like that kind of stuff, right? Like that. And look, I don't know what the worst case of stigmata that's ever been recorded is or whatever, but it seems to me that if you have enough like fervor for like religious ideas, that maybe your fucking wrist is going to start itching because you're thinking about Jesus on the cross or something, right? Maybe that's how you spend your Saturday afternoons. I don't really fucking know. And so you start scratching at it, and then all of a sudden you got these wounds, and then you have stigmata, right?
Oh, I don't know about that.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying.
That seems like a simplification.
Well, I
don't think it happens.
All I'm saying is that I think that there are reasons why things happen.
Oh, no, I totally agree. Like, A, I don't think it happens. B, if it does, there's definitely a reason, and it ain't God.
Right.
Because why is God going to be like, I think I'm going to make some people bleed out their wrists today?
Yeah.
How does that sound? Like, for why, though? It's not yours to know. That's too easy. I'm sorry. Right. That's bullshit.
Right.
The style and structure of the book of Habakkuk has been praised by many scholars, suggesting that its author was a man of great literary talent. Because even though it's only 3 chapters, his word choice and his style is like supposed to be amazing or whatever. He is unusual among the prophets in that he openly questions the working of God, kind of like how Job was like, what's up, God? Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
He's like that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And we get that like right away in the first chapter. Like that's literally what the first chapter is about, is him going, why?
Right.
This is dumb. The final resting place of Habakkuk has been claimed at multiple locations, which I was like going down the rabbit hole on this.
Yeah.
Okay. Currently, one location in Israel and one in Iran lay claim to being the burial site of the prophet.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So he could be in Israel. He could be in Iran. Okay.
Sure.
So in Israel, the burial place of Habakkuk is identified by Jewish tradition as a hillside in the Upper Galilee region of northern Israel, close to the villages Katarim and Hukak, about 12 miles north of Mount Tabor.
I mean, it would make sense to me that he was buried in Jerusalem, or in Israel, if they think he lived in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Like Iran is going to be
tracks.
A little ways away, you know.
Yeah.
Not that maybe he made a trip, you know.
Who knows?
But
I don't know.
Seems a little far-fetched.
There's a small stone building there that was erected during the 20th century, and it protects the tomb.
Got it. Okay.
Tradition dating as early as the 12th century CE, so current era, holds that his tomb is at this location, but the tomb may also be of a local sheik of Yak, a name related to the biblical place named Hukak, whose pronunciation and spelling in Hebrew are very close to Habakkuk.
Got it. Okay.
So maybe not.
I wanted to go back to something we were talking about a minute ago, and that's the stigmata thing. There's not been any, from what I can gather quickly, there's not any real recent cases. Like the last one I see is like 1963.
Oh, imagine that.
Yeah.
It's almost like with the advent of social media and instant recording and the web and, the advent of medicine.
Yeah. Well, actually, I apologize. The person that they claimed as late as 1989 that they had one. So, but regardless, these are all controversial. Every one that I'm seeing here that they list off, there's reasons why they're controversial and maybe not true.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
There's reason enough to be skeptical about it at the very least.
Highly skeptical.
Yeah.
So going back to the Israel tomb.
Yeah.
Archaeological findings in this location include several burial places dated to the Second Temple period.
Okay.
So whatever. But I think it's probably the other guy. I don't think it's him.
Or neither.
Or neither.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I mean.
But in Iran now, a mausoleum southeast of the city of Taisirkan in the west of Iran is also believed to be his burial place.
Hey, maybe they just, split him into pieces.
It is protected by Iran's Cultural Heritage, Handcrafts, and Tourism Organization. And the organization's guide to the Hamadan province states that Habakkuk was believed to be a guardian to Solomon's temple.
Okay.
And that he was captured by the Babylonians and remained in their prison for some years.
I see.
After being freed by Cyrus the Great, he went to Ecbatana, I'm not sure.
Okay.
And remained there until he died and was buried somewhere nearby in what is today Taisirkan.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. That's a lot of history to have for somebody that doesn't have a lot of history.
Right? Yeah. That I was going down the rabbit hole on this dude before, and there's only 3 chapters, and I was like, I gotta know more.
But it also strikes me that, different cultures have different records, and so maybe the cultures that we are pulling our information from, because we're reading more often than not, we're reading Western culture references to the things that we're studying, that maybe there are other records that we aren't aware of in Eastern culture.
Right.
Because they were this was an important person for the Muslim community as well. So
right. That's what I'm saying. The majority of Jewish tradition places the grave in Israel.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But the majority of the Muslim tradition places him in Iran.
Right.
And he is recognized by the Muslim locals in that area. It's commonly known.
Sure.
His name is just a thing, Yeah. That's his tomb. What?
Right. Right.
The surrounding shrine may date to the period of the Seljuk Empire, which was 11th through 12th century current era.
Okay.
Okay. Underneath the shrine is a hidden basement with 3 floors. And in the center of the shrine's courtyard is the grave where he is said to be buried. And a stone upon the grave is inscribed in both Hebrew and Persian, stating that the prophet's father was Shua Lovett, but not Lyle Lovett.
Right.
And his mother was Leshonamit.
Okay.
And both Muslims and Jews visit this grave to pay their respects.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I found that very interesting.
I mean, it is interesting that it's written in 2 different languages, and one of them is Hebrew, too. So
yeah.
That gives us, I mean, sounds a little bit, whatever. It has some validity to it. Right. At least a little bit.
Sure. I found it interesting that all 3 of the Abrahamic traditions recognize this guy. Like, there aren't a lot of them that, like, are not so well known. Like, this guy is, like, revered by all 3. And that's kind of cool, you know?
Well, I'd want to do a little bit more studying into that, because I know that the Islamic, the Muslim traditions, they often, there's a lot of stuff from the Old Testament that overlaps. So there are quite a few prophets that are important to Islam, as well as Christianity and Judaism. Right. So, I mean, I don't want to, I wouldn't say that with a lot of authority, because I don't really know that much about the Islamic faith as I do. We know way more about, Judaism and Christianity at this point than we do about
That's true.
Islam.
That's true.
So
that's true. On the Eastern Orthodox liturgical calendar, his feast day is December 2nd.
Okay.
But then in the Roman Catholic Church, his feast day is January 15th. So, I mean, he's very recognized by all these different faiths.
Right.
In 2011, he was commemorated with the other minor prophets in the calendar of saints of the Armenian Apostolic Church.
Is this like February a fireman's 8th. Calendar for minor saints?
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. A saint a month. Yeah. He has also been commemorated in sculpture multiple times. Like in 1435, the Florentine artist Donatello, not the turtle, created a sculpture of the prophet for the bell tower of Florence.
I have to wonder, how do you sculpt somebody you've never seen? Yeah,
I wonder that too, but I found it interesting that, like, he wanted to sculpt the prophets. And so he's like, this is a minor prophet. He doesn't get a lot of recognition. So I'm going to make sure that, he gets a face and gets a name. And I'm going to donate it to this church or whatever. Yeah. This statue is nicknamed Zucconi, which means big head. And that is what I am calling myself henceforth. I literally wrote this down on a sticky note and put it on my desk so I can remember, because usually I refer to myself as a potato head or basketball head or Charlie Brown head, but Zucconi is so fucking fantastic. So that is what you need to call me henceforth, okay?
I am never one that calls you that. That's just you.
Just call me it.
I don't want to call you that.
You could be like, I love you, Zucconi.
No.
Okay, well, I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
It's nicknamed that because of the shape of the head, but the statue now resides in the Museo dell'Opera del Duomo.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, in Italy. Obviously, that's why I'm,
Sure.
Zuccone. Yeah. The Basilica of Santa Maria del Popolo in Rome contains a Baroque sculpture of him by the 17th century artist Bernini. Okay. So, yeah, a lot of people like trying to get up on this guy.
Yeah.
Between 1800 and 1805, the Brazilian sculptor Alejandro completed a soapstone sculpture of him as part of his 12 Prophets series.
I see.
The figures are arranged around the forecourt and monumental stairway in front of the Santuario de Bom Jesus do Montesastos et Kongenhaus. But I wanted to say Kongenhaus
why
real bad.
Yeah.
I wanted to say that real bad.
Okay.
Now, I have to say some Islamic stuff, because they had some stuff to say about this guy.
Okay.
I told you I went down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I was just like, whoa, this guy's got a lot of stuff. Okay. Although he's not mentioned by name in the Quran, he is recognized as an Islamic prophet because he's believed to herald the coming of the last prophet and divine scripture Muhammad.
Okay.
Even though he's not in the Quran, they're like, no, he's big deal.
Got it.
Okay?
Yeah.
The Quran only mentions around 25 prophets by name and alludes to a few others, but it has been a cardinal doctrine of Islam that many more prophets were sent by God who are not mentioned in the scripture. And that's how they can get away with, no, this guy's special, that guy's special, that guy's special. Even if they're not mentioned, they just know.
Got it.
Okay?
Yeah.
And they're like, and this one.
Sure. Yeah.
So Habakkuk is one of theirs. Okay?
Okay.
Thus, Muslims have traditionally had no problem accepting those other Hebrew prophets not mentioned in the Quran as legitimate prophets of God, especially as the Quran itself states, "Surely we sent down the Torah to Moses, wherein is guidance and light. Thereby the prophets who followed him, who had surrendered themselves, gave judgment for those who were Jewish, as did the masters and the rabbis, following such portion of God's book as they were given to keep and were witness to."
Okay.
So I was like, okay, all right. This passage has often been interpreted by Muslims to include within the phrase, quote unquote, prophets, an allusion to all the prophetic figures of the Jewish scriptural portion of the Nevi'im, which is all the prophets of Israel after Moses and Aaron.
Okay.
So they're like, we are Muslim, we have a Quran, but we also are taking your guys out of your Torah over there. Give me it.
Right. Well, I mean, it's just
cool.
It's kind of just a branch off of Judaism.
No, I know. It's just, it's like current day watching it happen, though. It's like interesting to me.
Sure.
And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that's how your tradition goes. Okay.
Right.
Like, I don't know very much about the Muslim faith, so I'm just like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, they've often alluded to him as a prophet in their works and followed the pronunciation of his name with the traditional salutations of peace bestowed by Muslims onto prophets after the utterance of their name. So they give him all the honorifics.
Got it.
Okay. And some medieval Muslim scholars even provided commentaries on the biblical book of Habakkuk, with the primary purpose of showing that the prophet had predicted the coming of Muhammad in Habakkuk chapter 3, verses 2 through 6.
Part of the song.
Yeah, we'll try to remember that when we get there, in a manner akin to the earlier Christian tradition of seeing in the book's prophecies allusions to the advent of Christ.
Got it.
So that was a really cool paragraph. I kind of muddled it, but what they're saying is, hey, so you know how Christians look at some of the minor prophets, and they're like, oh my God, they're totally talking about Jesus. Like the Muslims, people look at the same thing, and they're like, oh my God, they're totally talking about Muhammad.
Right.
So, like, basically, you see what you want to see.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was like very respectfully phrased as they all cray. Everybody across the board that's religious.
Yeah.
See what they want to see.
Yeah.
All right. And with that, now we will begin chapter 1 of Habakkuk.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I had to go down the rabbit hole. He's so interesting.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So remember what this book is about. He's going to be like, why though? Okay, that's his whole thing. This whole book is why. Okay, the prophecy that Habakkuk the prophet received.
Okay.
Which that is verse 1 in our translation, but in other translations that would be the super text or whatever, like the label or whatever.
Yep.
Okay, so here's where it actually starts. Okay. How long, Lord, must I call for help, but you do not listen, or cry out to you, violence, but you do not save? Why do you make me look at injustice? Why do you tolerate wrongdoing?
They're good questions.
Destruction and violence are before me. There is strife and conflict abounds. Therefore the law is paralyzed and justice never prevails. The wicked hem in the righteous so that justice is perverted. Bleh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love this book so far.
So far, yeah.
Yeah. Look at the nations and watch and be utter... Oh, wait, hold on. Okay, no. This is God talking now. Sorry, I didn't realize we were switching perspectives. Okay? This is God now. Ready?
Yep.
Look at the nations and watch and be utterly amazed. For I am going to do something in your days that you would not believe, even if you were told. I am raising up the Babylonians, that ruthless and impetuous people who sweep across the whole earth to seize dwellings not their own. They are a feared and dreaded people. They are a law to themselves and promote their own honor.
You're right. This makes no fucking sense. I wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, right? Their cavalry gallops headlong. Their horsemen come from afar. They fly like a fucking eagle swooping in to devour. They all come intent on violence. Their hordes advance like a desert wind and gather prisoners like sand. They mock kings and scoff at rulers. They laugh at all fortified cities. By building earthen ramps, they capture them. Mm-hmm. Then they sweep past like the wind and go on. Guilty people whose own strength is their God. So Habakkuk is like, why are you letting all this shit happen? And God's like, don't worry, I got a plan.
Yeah, I'm gonna rise up these people
that already wanted to kill you anyways.
I don't like.
But they wanted to kill you anyway, so I'm just gonna let it happen.
Right, and they get their strength from their God. Mm-hmm. Like, wait, how are you raising them up?
Yeah.
If they get their strength from their God, you God just said that.
Don't worry about it. That's what he's telling. That's what he's telling him. Don't worry about it.
Okay,
I got a plan.
This is like literally.
I know.
Okay, we used to talk about this a lot because they reference other gods at some points when they're talking about other cultures.
Yeah.
And here we are again.
Yeah.
Mentioning another God. Only it's not just mentioning another God. It's God.
Yeah.
Mentioning another God. Yeah. Saying that the people that he is raising up are getting strength from their God.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
So it's not just that those people believe in something else and they call it a God, but it's not. You know what I mean? It's not that. It's that, no, these people actually follow a thing that exists over there and gives them power.
Right. So, I mean, to be fair, I think somebody would say, well, they're gathering strength from what they perceive as their God, okay. Right? But I'm like, yeah, but you can say nothing more than you perceive your God.
Right.
You have nothing else to, like, either way you look at this.
Why does it work for them but not you?
Right, yeah.
Or you but not them?
Why is it okay for you to perceive a God, but they are falsely perceiving a God?
Right.
Right? That makes no sense.
Like, and then I'm over here and you're both telling me the same story and I'm supposed to just know automatically that one of you is right and the other one is wrong.
Or let's right. But let's assume that like God is a real entity. Just for a moment, just to play along, right?
Sure.
Who's to say that their perception isn't the correct perception of a God and your perception is the wrong perception of a God?
Yeah.
Let's say that you both have a perception of the same God, you just perceive it differently.
Whoa, that's the whole y'all both trying to describe an elephant from the wrong end.
I'm just saying, like, if we're going to go with the fact, like, if we're going to give them like the smallest grain here and say, okay, let's just assume for the sake of this argument that your God, that a God is real. Why is your perception of it better than their perception of it?
I mean, one could ask that today of all of the different denominations of Christianity.
Yeah.
It's all the same God, but they all perceive it differently.
Well, and then you can take that one step further and be like, and if there's a chance that your perception is wrong, why the fuck are you worshiping it?
Yeah.
Because you don't know.
Right.
You don't have you have no reason to know that other than you were brought up this way. You have no reason to know that your God is the correct God versus somebody else's perception of their God being the correct God.
Right. Yeah. It's very annoying.
Yeah.
All right. So we're having a conversation apparently because now we're going back to Habakkuk.
Okay. Yeah.
He says, Lord, are you not from everlasting? My God, my Holy One, you will never die. You, Lord, have appointed them to execute judgment. You, my rock, capital R, have ordained them to punish. Your eyes are too pure to look on evil. You cannot tolerate wrongdoing. So, ... Why then do you tolerate the treacherous?
Yeah.
Why are you silent while the wicked swallow up these more righteous than themselves?
It didn't sound like he was silent. He said he was sending them against, like, he's doing this.
Right.
Is what he said. Now, there was, debate onto whether who was motivating them.
Right.
But whatever.
You have made people like the fish in the sea, like the sea creatures that have no ruler. The wicked foe pulls all of them up with hooks. He catches them in his net. He gathers them up in his dragnet, and so he rejoices and is glad. Therefore, he sacrifices to his net and burns incense to his dragnet. For by his net he lives in luxury and enjoys the choicest food. Is he to keep on emptying his net, destroying nations without mercy? Okay, so that's the end of the chapter, but some of the notes and stuff indicate that it's actually like the next verse or two is still part of this, but I'm not going to read those because here's what's happening, okay?
Yeah.
Chapter 1 is Habakkuk is like, this shit sucks. Why are you letting this happen? And then God's like, don't worry, I got a plan.
Right.
And I'm going to raise them tools up over there and let them kill you.
Yeah.
And then Habakkuk is like, that seems stupid. Why are you doing that?
Right.
Like, that's what this chapter was. And then the bit that is starting the next chapter is, and then he sat back and waited for the Lord to answer. Okay? Like, that's what I read in the notes.
Okay.
That I'm not like, we'll start that chapter over there. I don't need that to finish this off.
Sure.
That's a fine start to the next chapter.
Okay.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to read that verse.
Sounds good.
But that's what this chapter was about. This sucks. Don't worry, I got a plan. Your plan is dumb. That's the whole chapter.
Yeah.
Don't you think? I think I summed that up.
Yeah, that's pretty precise, accounting of it, I'd say. Mm-hmm. So, you got anything else to go over here before we get done with this one?
No, let me just say that I love this chapter.
Why?
Because he questions God, and then when God answers, he's like, I don't know about that, God. And that feels good. That tastes nice in my mouth.
It does, but I mean, God has killed people for less.
I know.
Earlier on, but yeah.
But now he's like, I'm busy. There's too many of y'all fucks.
Right. All right. Well, that was Habakkuk, chapter 1.
Cuckoo-ca-choo.
Yeah,
sure was.
Yeah. And we will be back tomorrow with
Habakkuk-ca-choo, chapter 2.
All right. We will see you guys then.
Doodle-doodle-doo. Bye.
Hey, wife. I guess that's the end?
But husband, that's just sad.
It doesn't have to be. We are on lots of social media platforms like Twitter. Our handle there is sacrilegious_D.
For D's nuts.
Oh my God. Stop doing that. Anyway, we're also on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. There's a link to all of our social media sites at our website.
Ooh, we have a website?
Yeah, it's sacrilegiousdiscourse.com, where you can also find a link to our merch shop.
We have a merch shop?
Yep, we have podcast-themed clothing, mugs, notebooks, and more, as well as an atheist and science-themed products.
Wow, our fans should really go check that out right now.
Definitely. They can get in touch with us by sending an email to sacrilegiousdiscourse@gmail.com. But before they do that, we could really use some help.
Oh yeah? With what?
Well, it's not free running the podcast, and we need some financial support in order to get better equipment, which will free up time so we can concentrate on our podcast and our fans.
Okay, so what should they do?
Head over to patreon.com/sacrilegious discourse and sign up as a contributor on our podcast. Supporters there receive additional bi-weekly episodes that we record just for our Patreon members for as little as $2 a month.
Also, we'd really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe on whatever platform you're using.
And Apple Podcast reviews help us out tremendously.
Like and subscribe. Leave an Apple review. Join us on Twitter. Support us on Patreon. That's a lot of instructions. Don't forget to say thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.